Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com. We have a very special guest with us today. This is Mr. Darius Shahinfar. Did I say it right?
Yes.
I did it right?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
The Albany City Treasurer. Hopefully you came with a few $1 million to share with us.
I was going to ask you the same question.
And the rabbi says it with a Chicago accent, so the A's are flat, Darius.
Upstate New York.
I say Darius. So it's like, either way, you get called on time for dinner.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Exactly.
So, Darius, you just became the Albany City Treasurer.
Yes.
And in January, so you've had 6 months in this position. Do you like it? Is it something that you'd like to do for many years, or is it?
It's great. No, I'm enjoying it a lot, learning a lot. I think I've been fortunate to step into an office that was run pretty well before I got there by now Mayor Kathy Sheehan.
Right.
So we had a very good staff, and operations are pretty smooth for the most part. The biggest hurdle we have is technology, which I spoke about a lot in the campaign trail. We are in the midst of going with a different parking ticket vendor right now to handle the parking tickets. Yep, and
But that's the automated now. That's all.
well,
the credit cards.
between credit cards, between making it web accessible for people who want to pay their parking tickets, and also the PSOs, the ticketing officers on the streets that you see on the streets. The equipment that they use, and how they write the tickets, and how they come to our office for payment, essentially.
Now, I call the PSOs brownies because they have a brown uniform. They're called
PSOs.
brownies. But you call them PSOs? That's fine. But I wanted to ask you, what is inefficient about what they're doing? Because it's such a leap from the way it used to be.
Yeah, it isn't. They're doing a pretty good job as it is. But I think some of the technology we're going to be able to upgrade. And also going to have more real-time contact with the officers on the street, and also in their ticketing, so that when they write a ticket or when a ticket is paid, it immediately will go to online, essentially.
Don't rush.
It's
not that.
no,
I don't need it to be that.
It's mostly important for people who have paid their tickets,
okay.
So that for instance, their boots get released,
okay.
and they're able to be released, and that officers know on the street who has paid their tickets and who hasn't. So
yeah, it used to. I remember a story back in late 70s when I first got here. We had a mayor here, Erastus Corning.
Yes.
Who had a news conference every Friday morning, and all the reporters would put their parking tickets on the desk, and he would open up his drawer and slide them in, and they'd never hear from them again.
Yes.
And that was a good system until the Times Union did a story about it, and then they blew it for the courtesy. They blew it for everyone else.
Whether that's the good old days or the bad old days, that is the old days.
That's right.
So we have a much better system right now of keeping track of things.
Let me ask you
Thank
something.
you,
As a treasurer,
Yes.
I mean, are you there just to count the money, or like you say, do they ask you for implementation? How do we make another $1 million? Let's say, can we get the parking tickets a little bit more streamlined?
More the former than the latter. My office does have purview over the parking tickets, but outside of that, as far as revenue generation, our office is really not that involved in it per se.
With the taxes and all that.
Yeah, what we are, in other towns and other localities, often the position is called the receiver of taxes. You're responsible for taking in the money, the revenue for the city, accounting for it, and then expending it as appropriated by city budget, not much different than what the state does. But there is not a heck of a lot of discretion in those duties. It's basically set by law, and you just have to make sure that the office is run in an efficient and proper manner so that mistakes aren't made.
Now, you said in an efficient manner, not inefficient manner.
No,
right?
in an efficient
manner. Okay, I want to make sure that wording is there.
Yes, yes.
You also said on your website that you oversee a $170 million of taxpayer dollars.
Yes, that is the revenue that we take in.
$170 million.
It's about $170 million. Technically, it's actually more because we take in revenue for other entities during the year, for instance, county taxes.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what we.
So let me tell you, let me just go over your background a little
Sure.
bit. You were the regional rep for Kirsten Gillibrand when
Yes.
she was Congress.
Yes, when she was in
Okay.
Congress, yes.
And then you were the deputy county attorney for Mike Breslin.
Yes.
And so you like the politics that's sort of in your blood. You like to work,
Less politics than government, I think.
Okay, government's in your blood?
It's more government. It's more
Okay.
making government work and making it work efficiently and well and in a way that brings value to the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm. And then you were a graduate of Bates College?
Yes.
Was there a
Yes.
hotel there?
No, there was not a hotel there.
Bates
There
Hotel.
were several hotels there, but
No Bates Hotel.
just to let you know, Mark, you're not the first to come up with that joke.
Oh, okay. Well, I tried. Where is that located?
It's in Lewiston, Maine, actually, about 35
Maine.
miles from Portland.
Okay.
Maine. Yes, I was up in the hinterlands of Maine
With the moose.
with the moose and many other creatures of the woods.
And Albany Law School,
And Albany Law School here in Albany.
that's where you
after that,
graduated
yeah.
from. Now, politics is a sport,
Yes,
but you also like sports because you're on the National Little League.
I am on the board of National
Board.
Little League here in Albany. I also am coaching T-ball.
Yeah.
This will be my 4th year of coaching T-ball. First 2 for my son, the last 2 for my daughter. I'm supposed to have a game this evening at 6 o'clock.
Oh, well.
We'll see if that actually is
Okay.
not rained out. We're still waiting for word, but
Well, by the
I am a
time
big
this airs,
baseball
that
fan.
won't be
Yeah.
practical.
Well, we worried about the
So-
snow.
That's right. But I
No
won't.
more snow, please. No more snow.
So, and then you have Families Together USA, where you're
Yes,
on the
of
board?
New York State. Yes.
Of New York State,
Yes.
right.
Yep.
And then you're the Finance Committee member of Upper Hudson Planned Parenthood.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I'm on the Upper Hudson Planned Parenthood, Families Together. I was on St. Anne's as well.
Okay.
Until last year. So.
That's why I didn't mention it.
Yeah.
Because you're not there anymore.
Right.
Okay. So you said on your website you want to modernize city government.
Yes,
The whole city government?
as much as we can.
Okay. In conjunction with the mayor, I hope.
Of course.
Okay. You're not going to do this yourself.
No, but the purview that I have in the treasurer's office is really the accounting systems. And since so much of other city operations feeds into that, at least on the financial side, modernizing those systems is really what we have been trying to do for, what we wanted to do for a long time in the city.
Right.
And what we are on the cusp of doing right now.
But and the mayor, when she was in your position, couldn't get it done in 4 years.
No,
so-
it's a mayoral purview, essentially. We have to get the funding for it, number
Right.
one. But it's also, because it touches and reaches everything else in the city, it doesn't do any good for the treasurer to say we're going to this system if the mayor doesn't agree.
Right. And that's what was the case when Mayor Sheehan was treasurer?
Perhaps.
Perhaps, okay, and then Jerry Jennings was mayor. Okay, we talked about increasing efficiencies,
Yes.
and then saving taxpayer dollars, you said. I mean, this is like mother and apple pie,
Of
everyone.
course, absolutely.
You didn't get into anything controversial on your.
Well, there isn't much controversial in the treasurer's office. At least
Okay.
there hasn't been since the parking ticket issue a few years back,
Right.
which led directly to bringing in a computerized and software-based parking ticket system for the public the PSOs to use to do their ticketing, which led to a dramatic increase in revenue at the time. And now we're just improving that system.
And talking about the PSO, so it is a little bit modernized. Instead of the quarters, now you put in a credit card.
Yes.
Was that convenience for the consumer? You have to dig in I don't have a quarter, where do I go now? Everybody's gone through
Yep.
that. And, pretty much everybody, if they're driving a car, has a credit card also. But is that more money for Albany, or is it just convenience for the consumer, for the driver?
Convenience, and it's both, a little bit of both. I think what a lot of people don't know is that while we in the city and we in the treasurer's office deal with the parking ticket and the revenue that comes from that, the actual parking on the street is not handled by the city. It's handled by the Albany Parking Authority. And
Which is run by Mike Klein.
Which is run by Michael Klein, exactly.
Jewish.
Right.
Okay, we good.
Well,
Okay.
I went on the Jewish view.
I had assumed with the last name of Klein he
Yes.
was,
No,
but
I spoke to him.
yeah.
He is, yeah. No.
It was a very nice man, but it has resulted in some more revenue for the city,
Right.
but it's also more of a convenience thing. Also, it is enabling us to make changes going forward that are able to adapt with changes in technology, so that we're hoping within the next few years, people will be able to pay, as they do in many other cities, pay their parking from their phone. So you're in a meeting and you're late, and instead of running out of the meeting in Albany to go to put more money in the parking meter, you can just go to an app on your phone, click
That's
more money,
excellent.
and then you have it there.
And
But you
I've
need
been
a
in-
credit card to do that.
You need a credit card or account. I mean, there's different ways of doing it.
Right,
but,
so
yeah.
you're encouraging people to be on the plastic system.
I don't know if that's what's encouraging people to be on the plastic system, I guess, but.
Because I don't own a credit card.
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
be on
smart
the
that
flex.
way.
I don't want to go into that
But
debt.
no, it is a really big convenience. You know how many times I've been in meetings when and all.
Yes.
Oh, I got to go out, get my secretary. You know,
Yeah.
what a headache. You know, just pay and
Yep.
get quarters out in the olden days, or
Right.
run it out. So
I still have a bunch of quarters in my car right there ready to
Well,
take
I
out,
like
so-
the system, the way it is with, you put a piece of paper in your window from
Yes.
the meter, and then you know what time you need to be out there
Yes.
in order to avoid the ticket.
Mhm.
That's really helpful, other than just,
Trying to remember.
Trying to remember, and then you
Trying to add up the time
then
from
you
the
find that
parking
piece
meter.
of paper
Right.
in your windshield.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a beef, you might say.
Uh-oh.
about
now
this.
he's got a parking
Uh-oh.
ticket. He's going to try to think.
I got to tell you, if someone is parking in a spot, let's say all day, and they get a $40 ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and someone is there, let's say, is being good, had to feed the meter by 3 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't get there till 4. For that extra hour, they're still paying the same $40.
Mm-hmm.
Than someone who's been there all day and decided, oh, okay, I know I got the ticket already. All right, I'll just leave the car and
Pay $40 to
I'll
park
pay
all day as
$40
opposed to
to park all day,
$40 to
as
park
opposed
for
to the
an hour.
1 hour that you were over.
Mm-hmm.
What's with that? Can you do anything to?
I can certainly
accom-
bring it up with the police. I actually, and this is even more convoluted, our office doesn't actually oversee the PSOs in their duties. We just deal with the tickets after they write them and send them to
Right.
us. They're overseen by the police department, and they're actually paid for by the Albany Parking Authority to make it even more convoluted.
Well, this
but-
should be an efficiency of
Yes.
government where you don't need 3 different agencies to deal with this. So that you
It
could
could,
work on
it
that
could
also.
be. It could be.
For an efficiency standpoint, you could work on that too.
Yep. Well, I think Michael and I have been having many conversations over the last few weeks and months on better ways to do this. So.
Okay.
you know.
And with the and Chief
yeah.
Krokoff maybe? Or?
Yes, I mean they will obviously be part of the
Okay.
of the solution as well. But
How much money is actually brought in, part of the budget for you're talking about money and money,
Right.
in the
For
actual
parking tickets?
bottom line, yeah.
right now it's about $3.6 million a year, which was up from about 2.6 before we implemented the computerized system. That led to an initial bump of up to about 4.2, I think, initially. Now it's kind of leveled off a little bit as we've caught up. We have a very good collection rate on the parking tickets, about 87%, which is very good in this industry. But right now it's about 3.6 million. So
A lot of money.
And what was it before you went order? I mean, it's before your time, but you may still know this number. What was it before you did this, the electronic?
it was about 2.5, 2.6.
All right.
So
And where was that other million, let's say, going? Like, I know it's in
Where'd
the
it come
general.
from?
No, it came from
Yeah.
increased
Oh.
parking. But now you have an extra $1 million.
General
It
fund.
doesn't go into your budget. It
General
goes into
fund.
the general fund.
Yes.
And that goes, I mean, we're talking about the city having a major deficit.
Yes.
So no matter how much, it seems like we have money that comes in from the county clerk has overage, and he gives it to the county, and then the county disperses to the localities. Okay, so there's some money coming in from the overage of the county clerk's office. Now you have $1 million more than before that was going into the general
Well, $1
fund.
million more than 2010.
Right.
Not $1 million
Okay.
more than last year.
Right, not
Right.
more than last year, but, how was this used? I mean, this money.
Initially,
you know,
basically to make up the budget gap that
Gap.
we've had. We've essentially made up the difference using fund balance for several years in the budget, to some degree or another.
So what's the budget gap this year?
The budget gap this year is about 16 million structurally.
Okay.
It's accounted for with fund balance, use of debt reserve, and
One shots.
I'm sorry, no. We amortized our pension costs.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did?
so some borrowing for pension costs, and that made up about the $16 million. So we were able to do that this year.
Right.
It was essentially all budgeted for already. But if revenue comes in lower, that could be a problem. If we have more snowstorms in the early part of next winter, that would not be helpful. And then we have to deal with the budget issues for next year.
Okay, so I mean this respectfully, but you have two finance wonks in government now, in the top echelons of government, because the mayor and you, and I was just wondering, does this, I mean, are we looking to actually have a balanced budget one day in the city of Albany? I mean, is that even possible with pension costs, Medicaid costs, other costs? I mean, whatever the institutional costs are.
Yeah.
You know,
we have several structural problems in the city of Albany, and the mayor's been talking about that a lot in the last few weeks, months, actually.
Right.
Through last
So I know
year.
you're not speaking out of school if you reiterate those.
No, and I think the comptroller actually issued its state of the fiscal
Right.
situation in Albany a few days ago as well. The fundamental problem is that we have an eroding tax base to some extent. We have disparate tax levy between commercial and non-commercial property, which has served to push out and keep out business from locating its activities in the city as opposed to, say, Colony or Bethlehem or what have you. So, you know, it doesn't, yes, there are still businesses operating in Albany, of course, but that has made it a little more difficult to attract business in, which has resulted in a lot of usage of the IDA to enable
Industrial Development Authority.
Industrial Development Authority, yes, to bring in to help work with businesses who want to come in to rebuild. It's been used mostly recently for apartment and office construction as opposed to actual industrial projects. But that's one aspect of it.
We also hear about other opportunities for businesses that want to locate in a downtrodden area. You know, the state has some.
The state has some incentives.
Some incentives,
yeah. And we are using everything that we can at our disposal in the city to do that, and in the hopes that that can bring more people into the city and just have the multiplier effect where the population increases, more people want to and are willing to move here, increase property values, increase the tax base.
Well, and will the land bank help?
I think the land bank will be useful in returning a lot of the more far gone properties to get them back onto the tax rolls.
So is it your hope that we could ever get a balanced budget? I mean, can we reduce?
I certainly hope so. One of the things that we've been doing in the city is really taking care of business and really looking at everything in the city to make sure that we are operating as efficiently as possible. Getting in the new computer systems for our payroll and for our accounting systems is a part of that, particularly on the payroll side, where we expect to increase. To cut about 1% to 3% off of payroll, not from jobs, but from managing overtime and managing everything
every
better.
Little bit helps.
And
there's
a lot of little bits that have to help.
That's what these little bits are. But it doesn't seem like it'll get to a time unless we cut personnel, and we have less of the pension costs and fewer of the healthcare costs, that we won't have a balanced budget with. You know.
It remains to be seen. After this year, I think. The state also, we've made appeals to the state for right sizing of state aid to the city because we have years, basically years, we have been shortchanged, in part because of Empire State Plaza and how that affected the city and how the city had not had to go hat in hand to Albany through the 70s, 80s, way other cities did, and then they started from a base of state aid that was higher than Albany was when things started to go, become much more difficult.
I also heard that in order to ease that crunch of the Empire State Plaza, taking all those homes down and reducing the tax base there, that there's a piece out by New Scotland Avenue beyond the bridge that used to be the town of Bethlehem, Carsfeld, I think they used to call it, and by the Corrections Academy, that's now the city of Albany. So the city of Albany expanded out that way in order to ease the pain for the homes being destroyed there, and the property values are higher there than they would have been in downtown Albany where the Empire State Plaza is.
Initially, it was largely revenue neutral, because most of the people who were displaced from the plaza area were relocated to places in Albany. And you find that in lots of pockets around the city. Around where I live, New Scotland,
Pine Hills?
in Pine Hills. New Scotland,
Right.
Providence Street, a lot of the smaller homes in the center of the city were essentially placing people who had lived in the apartments in the brownstones downtown, but also out in that area of the city, and also other areas of the city as well, including far out off on the panhandle of Albany.
That's right.
Out by Crossgates Mall was another area where many people were relocated. Because it was largely revenue neutral at the time, there wasn't a great effect. But as the 60s, 70s, and 80s wore on and Albany emptied out and people went to the suburbs, then the real effect of the plaza on our property tax base really started to become more and more apparent as essentially the homes in the area here started to lose value because people didn't live in them anymore and people moved out of the city, erodes the tax base, and things become much more difficult.
Well,
So.
plus we have a larger police force than we did in the 60s, 70s. We have a larger fire department. We have more fire trucks, more expensive
Yep.
equipment. I mean,
And we also, and that for all those services that we have at the city go to service a city that almost every weekday increases by 80,000 people. Where, 40, 50 years ago, the people who worked for the state in the city of Albany lived here.
Now, you know what, I got to tell you, what I noticed, and I've told this to other public officials on the program, is that the housing stock in the city really stinks.
It's old
It's
and getting
old.
older.
And, it was built in a bygone era where you have these beautiful homes in a one-car garage. We don't live with a one-car family anymore. We have a two, maybe three-car family, but at least a two. And there are no two-car garages. And that's a big, believe it or not.
I understand completely. I think
Yeah.
that is a real impediment for people who do want to live in Albany, especially those who come to the area to, for instance, nanoscale,
Right.
or to the hospitals to work. The burgeoning industries that we do have here, and they are burgeoning.
Burgeoning, yeah.
Albany is oftentimes not on the radar screen for them as a choice of a place to live for a whole host of reasons, and it's unfortunate. It's starting to change a little bit as younger people move in and want to live in more city and urban environment. And there's a lot of amenities in Albany that draw people to want to live here, including the schools.
They quote unquote settle for a home that's not quite what they want. The rooms are smaller. They don't have walk-in closets. They don't have. I mean, there's a whole long list. Because I've been looking around at homes in Albany, even though I live in Albany, I'm looking to move into something new or different.
Increased property values, I think, will incentivize people to rework and remodel their old homes, to buy older homes and remodel them for newer modern living, and also hopefully I'm sorry?
You can only hope.
You can only hope. Yeah, but I think that we're moving in the right direction in Albany. And I think that more and more people are realizing that Albany is a place to live and a great place to live and raise their family as well.
Move faster.
So, move faster. Move faster.
I really think the housing stock really needs to be improved and addressed.
You're absolutely right. I think it's unfortunately fortunately or unfortunately, I guess the private marketplace is the one that has to.
And these aren't
deal with
historic homes, so what I'm talking
about.
about.
Some are not, yeah.
But most of them are not, and that's why I'm saying the Historic Albany Foundation wouldn't object to some of the homes just being leveled and rebuilt.
Some, yeah.
And I think there's got to be a major rethinking about how to rebuild the city.
Yeah.
It needs to be rebuilt. Otherwise, we're going to be a Detroit.
There's no question.
We're going to be Detroit otherwise.
We got a long ways to go before we get there, but some, we face the similar challenges that Detroit faces and that most other upstate New York cities face,
right.
And most other older cities in the country face, with aging infrastructure, which is a big problem. Sewer issues up on Western Ave. And those are issues that we have to deal with, and they're expensive. And if we're going to be the capital city of the state of New York, we need to make sure we have partnerships from all our friends in New York State,
That's right.
New York State government, and federally as well.
I know, my driveway. There's a pipe underneath my driveway that burst, and I came home one night at like midnight or 1. There was a lake in front of my house. The water authority, they came.
Yep.
They put up lights, big lights, and they they hammered away and they fixed it in the wee hours of the morning, and then they came and they paved it and they put it back the way it was. But you know, it still was a little daunting, you know, to think that all that.
Not the thing you want to see when you come home, that's for sure. But it's good to know we have some dedicated city employees out there to do that at that time of the day to take care of business.
And the garbage pickup. I don't know. Do you get any complaints about the garbage pickup? Or
I'm not really in a position to
about?
receive a lot of complaints about it. What we do is some of the complaints we receive are when people are ticketed for garbage for one reason or another.
Oh yeah.
Those are when I receive
snow
complaints.
removal.
Snow removal
Lack of
is
snow removal on sidewalks.
Yep.
Okay, so in the few remaining minutes, I wanted to talk about you personally a little bit, because the audience should get to know you as a public official. You know, your wife is the county legislator, Noelle Kinch, wonderful lady.
Well, thank you very much. I think so too.
You have a two-income government family.
We do, yes. Yeah, we do now. Yeah.
So you do now.
Yeah.
I'd like to also, to personally, your name is not your John Smith. Explain with your background.
No, my father's from Iran. Actually came off the boat in 1959, and I joked that my mom was from a different country. She's from Brooklyn, but she's mostly of German background, but you know, fourth generation or so.
You have Jewish View over here. We're on the Jewish View. Any Jewish connection in your family?
Well, my mother did marry a fine Jewish man, Robert Salzman, who for years was the director of legal aid in central New York.
So she's second marriage with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And so the only grandparents I really knew were my stepfather's grandparents, Irving and Ethel Salzman. And you haven't lived till you had Jewish grandparents, I think.
And you've celebrated the Jewish holidays?
Oh yes, okay. Passover and Hanukkah. And I was quite happy as a child to discover that Hanukkah has 8 days of gifts as opposed to the one day we got at Christmas.
It's just interesting because I know Iranian Jews, and like Darius is a very... Like he was a king. He was a king.
Yes.
That we know. I know from the Book of Esther.
Yes.
That's
yes.
how I know my history.
King Darius of ancient Persia, ruler of the first great empire, I think, on the planet.
And your last name's like Shah, so it's
the Shah.
Not the Shah per se, but the word means king, eagle. That's the derivation of it.
Well, if I see you in City Hall with a crown on, I'll know it went to your head. King went to your head. No,
you won't see that happening anytime soon.
But what part of Iran was your father from?
Mashhad, which is the northeastern corner. It's the second largest city in Iran.
Is your father still alive? Or?
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
how old is he?
He is, what year is this?
2014?
81.
81?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they say may you live to be 120. So
yes. Well, in my family, they live long.
So how old are you?
I am 47 now.
47. Yes. Okay. So you have a lot of years ahead of you.
We can hope.
Okay. Now you ran for Congress also.
I did. Yes.
Okay. Is there anything, looking back? Is there anything? Now we know Paul Tonko doesn't have to be given any advice, but is there anything that you would give a congressional candidate, knowing what you know when you went through that campaign?
People ask me some version of that question in the past, and it's a little bit difficult to answer because all congressional races are really, they can't be taken as a whole. They're really individualistic. Raising money is vital.
Okay.
That's one of the downsides really of engaging in politics these days. And running a congressional race takes a lot of money, particularly the larger the geographic area, as I think
the 20th,
Congressman Gibson,
right.
I think it's the 19th now,
right.
but Congresswoman or Senator Gillibrand's former district. I think you have to be yourself. I think you have to have people around you who are local and who know the local landscape. I think you also have to have advice from the Washington crowd, which will invariably come in to talk about the campaign, particularly once a primary is over. I think that you have to really define yourself,
okay.
And not just through what the consultants will give you.
Okay.
Define yourself for what it is and who you are and why you're doing this. And I got some great advice, not personally, but on a broader scale, when President Obama's speechwriters and campaign team came here, and they said, if you're running for office, it ought to be about doing something and not being something. So I think that's the way any candidate should really approach it.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Darius.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being on the Jewish
My
View,
pleasure.
but
My pleasure. Thank
we
you.
want to wish you, I always give a blessing to you that you should continue with good years,
Thank you.
healthy years, and good service to the community, and should grow and be helpful for everyone.
Thank you. And to
Absolutely.
you.
Okay,
All right.
Darius, thank you.
Thank you.